What is it, and is DRGB the future to PC gaming lighting? I'll go over everything about DRGB, and if it's something you gotta keep your eyes out if you're looking to build a new PC or you're planning to get a new laptop, especially if you're trying to future-proof it. Nowadays, you see some really creative builds when it comes to PCs, because now it's not just like a giant metal box, but a beautiful, magnificent, glowing box. Do you remember how back then, how impressed you were, even as a kid, just looking through something that was translucent, like a side of a PC case, or you were looking through a game console, such as a Nintendo 3DS or a Game Boy Color, where you actually see the chipsets, and all you could think to yourself is, wow, this is really amazing. We really have come a long way, especially when it comes to evolution in the PC world. PCs have really become much more eye candy more than ever. Before, PCs were so hideous, they even had little cabinets where you could actually put your PC case in there. And over time, they realized that was a pretty bad idea. Anyway, as humans, we just have to improvise or improve on a product, even when it comes to RGBs. And it's really not that long of a history when RGBs first were released. Because back in the early 2000s, they had LEDs for your PC case fans. You had to install these PC case fans for your PC, but they were monocolored and you couldn't change the colors through any type of software. Whatever color that you chose for your PC case fan, you had to stick with it and you had to stay that way, unless you want to completely change out your fan. So in later years, companies decided to start innovating. And I remember this quite specifically because back around 2012 to 2013 was Corsair's H100i. If you're unfamiliar with Corsair's H100i, it is a AIO. Back then, you were able to actually adjust the color to your AIO cooler. This was even before Corsair even came out with their software iCUE, which originally was a very light software, and I wish Corsair kind of kept it that way, where they kind of kept it lighter, as iCUE is a much more heavier software compared to what it used to be. When Corsair came out with their H100i and their prior products, it wasn't really the best lighting solution that there was, because it was actually quite buggy. So I wouldn't really change the colors on it, because even when you did, it didn't really come out exactly how you would like it. So I kind of set it to per temperature. You could also notice the color changing for that cooler, but it wasn't really anything that would catch your eye. It was kind of like a white LED that can tint into different colors, so you can get the idea of how it would look like. So around CES 2013 or CES 2014, was when they really started changing things, which really marked this revolution of RGBs. They started coming out with RGB fans and RGB keyboards. And later, it caused this really large interest, especially when it came to the PC community, because there was a way now that we can express ourselves through our PC, kind of like a mood ring. Remember those things? Also, I gotta mention, if you're not quite sure what the difference is between RGBs and ARGBs, make sure you click the card right above my head. ARGBs are really as far as you think you can get, especially when it comes to RGB lighting. And all you can think is really, how much further can they really stretch this out? But then NZXT came out with something that really changed the game, which isn't really related to RGBs, but then they started coming out with the release of Z73, where you can have animations inside of your cooler, which is currently a little bit buggy, but like with all things, they will press it out and it will get a lot more smooth. And over time, they'll find a way to perfect it, just like how iCUE did with RGB lighting. And that also brings me up to iBuyPower's Snowblind S. It actually has a 19-inch customizable LCD display on the side, which is 1280 by 1024 resolution, which is taking it to a whole nother level. All these things for now kind of seems like a fad, but who knows, maybe it will be around to stay. If you think so, make sure to put it in the comments down below. They also said RGBs would be a fad, but it's been here for almost 70 years now. So a company called Fantex released the first DRGBs. It is also compatible with Asus Aura, MSI Mystic Light, AceRock Polychrome, Gigabyte RGB Fusion 2.0, just about most companies that you could really think of. That's pretty dope from the sounds of it, right? So Fantex released these different DRGB kits, such as DRGB neon LEDs, DRGB halo fan frames. They even have DRGB starter kits where they actually give you a hub, DRGB wire extensions, and there is so much more. So what is really great about DRGBs? DRGBs, unlike RGBs, are able to individually control your LED lighting on your PC. RGBs, you have to select your light source, and RGB LED strips, for example, they can only change one color. You cannot mix and match different colors. You can only select one type of color for your LED strips. Now, if you had DRGB LED strips, you can actually choose the different LED lights to change different colors compared to the other LEDs that you so change. So you can actually change each individual LED in that very light strip. So if you picked a standard RGB LED strip and you pick the color blue, you would have to stick with the color blue. You can do a color shift to where the whole LED will just change to another color. But with DRGBs, you can pick red in the beginning of the LED and red on the end of the LED and blue in the middle. This all sounds kind of familiar so far, right? So the direct source Fantex has this obscure fact sheet to explain what DRGBs exactly do. I have pretty much answered that portion of it, but this actual fact sheet is a little bit more comedic than you think. If you're interested in taking a look at this DRGB fact sheet, make sure you check it out in the description box down below. If you haven't guessed it already, DRGBs are simply a marketing scheme devised by Fantex to get you to purchase more of their products, because DRGBs are actually the same as ARGBs. So please be careful with companies such as Fantex out there, because they look for these newer PC builders or people who are just getting into PCs to purchase everything from them. DRGBs use the same exact 5 volts as ARGBs and are even set up the same exact way. This is why they don't require any extra software, why they can work with other manufacturers. Also, I want to bring up something about ExpressVPN. If you don't privatize your network provider is probably selling your information in order to really sell you things. And then on top of that, it's much more easier to access your PC. All they have to do is find out your IP address. They can find out exactly where you live, what your social network is, and they can even find the passwords to your routers. So be careful out there and make sure you try out ExpressVPN. If you're part of the FanBam, you exclusively get 2 months for free when you do try out ExpressVPN. So FanBam guys, I hope you found this video very useful. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and also make sure you share it to everyone else who is interested into PCs and PC gaming. And also, if you're not part of the FanBam, make sure you go down and hit the subscribe button for more. And don't forget to hit the notification bell for all the newest updates. Make sure you follow my Twitter handle right here, as it is the same for my IG and TikTok as well. FanBam guys, what are your thoughts about DRGBs? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Chris Mizo signing out.